There are movie characters that live forever. And then there is Captain Jack Sparrow. With his slurred speech, mischievous swagger, and unpredictable charm, Johnny Depp turned what was meant to be a supporting role into one of the most iconic creations in Hollywood history. He wasn't just acting, he was transforming, embodying a pirate so magnetic that he carried an entire franchise on his shoulders. But behind the laughter, behind the eyeliner, behind the unforgettable drunken stumble, lies a darker truth. For Johnny Depp, Jack Sparrow was more than just a role, it was salvation and destruction all at once. Disney made billions off his performance. Yet at the height of his troubles, they cast him aside as if he had never mattered. Fans saw only the gold teeth and the flamboyant captain, but what they didn't see was the toll it took on Johnny's career, his health, and even his soul. At 61, Depp finally breaks his silence. The truth about Pirates of the Caribbean is not the fairy tale Disney sold us. It's a story of betrayal, corporate greed, and how the very role that made him a legend nearly destroyed him. Long before Jack Sparrow stumbled onto the deck of the Black Pearl, Johnny Depp had already carved out a reputation as one of Hollywood's most unpredictable actors. Born in Owensboro, Kentucky, and raised in a working-class family, Depp never planned to become a movie star. In fact, his first dream was to be a musician. He played in garage bands, chasing rock stardom until fate and a push from Nicolas Cage pointed him toward acting. Depp's breakthrough came in the late 1982 with 21 Jump Street, where he became a teen idol almost overnight. But Johnny despised the shallow fame. He didn't want to be just another pretty face on television. He wanted to be an artist. That desire led him to collaborate with visionary directors like Tim Burton, who cast him as the gentle, gothic outsider in Edward Scissorhands. With each role, Depp proved he was fearless, choosing characters that were strange, haunting, and unforgettable. By the late 1992, Depp was admired by critics but still considered a Hollywood outsider. He had never anchored a blockbuster, never been the face of a billion-dollar franchise. That all changed in 2003 when Disney handed him the role of Captain Jack Sparrow, a quirky pirate in a summer adventure film that no one expected to succeed. What Johnny did with that role was nothing short of revolutionary. Pirates of the Caribbean, The Curse of the Black Pearl became a cultural phenomenon, grossing over $650 million worldwide. Suddenly, Depp was no longer just a cult favorite, he was a global superstar. Awards, magazine covers, and record paychecks followed. Yet as the fame grew, so did the cracks in the fairy tale. Behind the scenes, not everyone was celebrating his rise. When Johnny Depp first stepped onto the set of Pirates of the Caribbean, the studio executives didn't see genius, they saw disaster. His slurred voice, his eccentric hand gestures, his drunken sway, Disney executives were horrified. To them, Jack Sparrow looked less like a heroic pirate and more like a washed-up rock star who had stumbled into the wrong film. Reports say that executives pulled Depp aside, demanding he change his performance. They questioned if he was drunk, if he was mocking the film, if he was even taking the role seriously. Some even whispered about firing him. Disney had invested millions, and here was Johnny turning their clean-cut adventure into something unpredictable and bizarre. But Depp refused to bend. He told them plainly, "Captain Jack is a rock star. He's a mix of Keith Richards and Pepe Le Pew." He knew exactly what he was doing. It wasn't safe. It wasn't polished. It was wild, unpredictable, alive. The betrayal wasn't just in their doubts. It was in their complete lack of faith. The studio wanted a cookie-cutter hero, but Depp gave them something dangerous and unforgettable. And when the film premiered, audiences roared with laughter and awe. Jack Sparrow became the heartbeat of the franchise, the very reason it exploded into a multi-billion-dollar empire. And yet, Depp never forgot how close he had come to being fired, how the same studio that later made billions off his creation had nearly killed it before it was born. The truth was clear. Hollywood didn't create Jack Sparrow, Johnny Depp did. And from the very beginning, they tried to take it away from him. Success often brings admiration, but for Johnny Depp, it also brought mockery from within Hollywood itself. After Pirates of the Caribbean, The Curse of the Black Pearl became a smash hit, Some of Depp's so-called friends in the industry whispered behind his back. To them, he had sold out. For years, Depp had built his career as the eccentric outsider, the actor who refused blockbuster roles and chased art instead of money. And now, he was the face of Disney's biggest family franchise. Colleagues who once praised his choices now accused him of betraying his own ideals. Some laughed at the way he played Jack Sparrow, calling it a clown act, claiming he was just stumbling around pretending to be drunk. Others warned him that he was ruining his credibility as a serious actor. Even in private gatherings, friends questioned whether he had lost himself in the very character that made him famous. The sting of betrayal cut deep because it didn't come from enemies, it came from people Depp trusted. Those who should have celebrated his success instead mocked him, as if his achievements had invalidated the artist he had always been. But Johnny refused to let their doubts destroy him. He leaned even harder into Jack Sparrow, making the character more outrageous, more magnetic with every sequel. What his critics didn't understand was simple. Depp wasn't playing a fool. He was exposing Hollywood's hypocrisy. He had turned a corporate product into living art. Still, the damage was done. The laughter behind his back, the whispers in Hollywood circles, the people who doubted his choices, all of it foreshadowed the even darker betrayals that lay ahead. For Johnny Depp, Jack Sparrow was no longer just a character. He was becoming a battlefield. At first, the world couldn't get enough of Captain Jack. Children dressed as him for Halloween. Fans quoted his lines endlessly. And critics admitted that Johnny Depp had created one of the most original characters in cinema history. But as the sequels rolled on, something began to change. The media, once dazzled by his brilliance, grew cynical. Headlines shifted from praising Depp's artistry to mocking his eccentricities. Journalists accused him of playing the same role over and over again, of milking the character for money rather than art. Each new Pirates of the Caribbean film was judged more harshly, and Jack Sparrow, once his greatest triumph, started to feel like a prison. For Depp, the betrayal was personal. The very character he had risked everything to invent was being used against him. Fans demanded he stay the same, while critics mocked him for not evolving. The Hollywood press painted him as a man trapped in eyeliner and gold teeth, incapable of being anything else. And as Depp's personal life began to spiral lawsuits, financial chaos, tabloid scandals, the image of Jack Sparrow became both shield and curse. Disney still plastered his face on posters, lunchboxes, and toys, cashing in on the pirate's popularity, while the same media that once adored him now asked, "Has Johnny Depp become a joke?" The cruelest twist was that Jack Sparrow had been born out of rebellion, a rejection of Hollywood's rules. Yet over time, the role was twisted into proof that Depp had lost his way. What was once liberation became confinement, and the captain who had conquered the seas now weighed Johnny down like an anchor. Jack Sparrow was supposed to set him free. Instead, he became a burden Johnny could never escape. By the mid-2010 Johnny Depp was no longer just an actor, he was the face of Disney's most profitable live-action franchise. Pirates of the Caribbean had grossed billions worldwide, and Jack Sparrow had become a cultural icon recognizable in every corner of the globe. For years, Disney cashed in on Depp's creation, from merchandise to theme park attractions. But when trouble came, the studio showed its true colors. As Depp's legal battles and personal scandals with Amber Heard spilled into the public eye, the same executives who had once begged him to sign sequels suddenly went silent. Without a verdict, without proof, without loyalty, Disney quietly cut ties. Reports surfaced that the company had dropped Depp from Pirates 6, erasing him from the very franchise he had built. For Johnny, this wasn't just a business decision, it was betrayal at the deepest level. Disney had made billions on his back, yet when controversy struck, they treated him like a liability. Worse, they never defended him. There was no statement of support, no acknowledgement of what he had given. They simply walked away. Fans were outraged. Petitions demanding his return gathered millions of signatures. Many argued that without Depp, there could be no pirates. Still, the studio pressed forward, exploring spin-offs and reboots, as if Jack Sparrow could be replaced like any other character. The irony was devastating. Years earlier, Disney executives had nearly fired him for his vision of Jack Sparrow. Now, after 2 decades of success, They fired him again this time, not because of his acting, but because they lacked the courage to stand by him. To Johnny Depp, the message was clear. In Hollywood, loyalty only lasts as long as you're profitable. And the moment you become controversial, even your greatest creation can be stolen from you. For Johnny Depp, the deepest wound wasn't just the rumors, the lawsuits, or even the public humiliation. It was losing the one character that had defined his legacy, Captain Jack Sparrow. For nearly 2 decades, Depp and Sparrow had been inseparable. Children didn't scream his name at airports. They screamed Captain Jack. Fans didn't want Johnny on red carpets. They wanted the pirate with the swagger, the grin, the slurred voice that only he could deliver. Jack Sparrow wasn't a role anymore. He was part of Johnny's soul. And then, just like that, it was gone. When Disney officially announced that Depp would not return for Pirates of the Caribbean 6, it wasn't just the end of a contract, it was a death sentence for the character. Johnny described the moment as one of the darkest in his career. He wasn't just being replaced as an actor. He was being erased from his own creation. The studio that had once mocked his performance, then profited endlessly from it, now discarded him without hesitation. What made it worse was the silence. No phone call, no heartfelt thank you, no acknowledgement of the billions he had brought them. Just a cold corporate decision made in boardrooms by people who had never risked anything, never understood what it meant to pour your soul into a role. For Depp, the betrayal cut deeper than any courtroom drama. Jack Sparrow had been his gift to the world, a character born not from Disney's scripts, but from his imagination, his rebellion, his artistry. And now, that gift was taken away. Fans begged for his return, but Hollywood had already closed the door. At 61, Depp finally admitted what many suspected. Losing Jack Sparrow was like losing a part of himself. The laughter, the freedom, the magic, all of it had been stolen, not by time or by fans, but by the very industry he had helped enrich. In the end, the darkest truth was this. Jack Sparrow had made Johnny Depp a legend, but it had also cost him everything. And the greatest betrayal of all was realizing that the character he loved most would never sail with him again. At 61, Johnny Depp looks back at the journey of Captain Jack Sparrow with a bittersweet heart. On one hand, Sparrow gave him everything: global fame, financial fortune, the love of millions of fans across generations. Without the pirate's swagger and charm, Depp might never have reached such legendary status. But on the other hand, Sparrow also cost him dearly. It became the role that defined him, trapped him, and in the end, was stolen from him. For Johnny, Jack Sparrow is no longer just a character. He is a ghost, haunting, unforgettable, both a blessing and a curse. Every time Depp sees a child wearing the pirate's hat or hears the famous theme song, he feels pride, but also pain. Pride, because he knows he created something timeless. Pain, because he knows he will never be allowed to live it again. The dark truth Johnny reveals today is not simply about betrayal by Disney or the cruelty of Hollywood, but about the reality of being an artist in a machine that values profit over humanity. Jack Sparrow gave the world joy, but it left the man who created him scarred. And perhaps that is the cruel irony. Sometimes the role that makes you immortal is the very thing that destroys you. Johnny Depp's story as Jack Sparrow is more than just Hollywood gossip. It's a lesson about loyalty, artistry, and the price of fame. He gave the world a pirate who will live forever, but in return, he lost the role that defined his soul. Now, I want to hear from you. Do you believe Disney was right to move on without him? Or do you think Pirates of the Caribbean can never exist without Johnny Depp as Captain Jack Sparrow? Share your thoughts below. I'll be reading every single one. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the untold truth behind Johnny Depp's most iconic role, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next story. The sea may no longer have Captain Jack, but here on this channel, his legacy will never sink.